What's up, guys? So today we're going to be taking a look at the transmission for my Evo. I've got a 2004 Evo 8. It's got a 6466 on it with a aluminum rod 2.4 motor. Give you a little backstory of what's going on. So about 6 months ago, I was fighting some issues with the vehicle. I had made some changes to it and was taking the car out, wanted to kind of do a test hit. The car was breaking up pretty bad when I'd get about to 8,000 RPM. Car's built kind of revs to about 9 grand. So took it out, did a test pull on it, just a little first, second gear pull. First gear wrapped all the way up to 9 grand. Car pulled amazing. I go to no lift shift into second gear and all of a sudden it just starts knocking. So I shut the car down and we pulled over on the side of the road. Was taking a look. I was seeing if I had any leaks or anything, seeing if I windowed the block, and I couldn't find anything. There was no oil on the road, there was no oil where I was parked, I didn't see any holes in the block. I mean, everything looked like it was still together as it should. Go back in there and I actually restarted the car up, and of course the knock continued. As far as like turning the car over though, I mean, you could definitely tell there was compression across all 4 cylinders. Everything was nice and even the way it should sound when you're starting a motor. It turned over, wasn't locked up, no problems whatsoever there. So then at that point what I did was I went ahead and I pushed the clutch pedal in and the knocking noise went away. And I actually have a video kind of showing you what I was noticing that night. So clutch pushed in, car in neutral, plus pushed out, in, out. Alright, so here's my transmission here. This is a 5-speed transmission. So this transmission I had probably about 4 or 5 years ago, built by JMRacing in Ohio. This is what they call one of their Buschwacker ultimate ratio transmissions with a little bit of a twist. Your typical ultimate ratio transmission, what you're looking at is it's got an Evo 9 first and second gear, then they use the third and fourth gear out of the Evo 8, and then they go back to using the Evo 9 fifth gear. What makes this transmission a little bit different from that though is my fifth gear. Instead of using the Evo 9 fifth gear, I went with the JDM Evo 8 fifth gear. Reason I did it is actually a little bit shorter gear ratio than using the actual Evo 9. I'll be honest though, if I were to go back and redo it, I probably would have just stuck with the Evo 9. The Evo 5th gear is great. I mean, if you're in a situation where you need to go into 5th, you absolutely have zero issues with falling out of boost. But the thing that I'm not really happy about it is you're definitely at a higher RPM range when you're just kind of cruising around, 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour on the interstate. It would have been nice to have the Evo 9 5th gear, so it would have dropped that down just a little bit better. But all in all, I mean, it's not been a bad transmission. I do actually have a 411 final drive in this one over the stock final drive, which I will have to say with my 2.4 motor was awesome. I mean, the car it accelerated, it pulled hard. I mean, it was a blast. So, all right, and got the clutch fork and I've got the throwout bearing out. It's not too hard. You start off by, you've got this little plug, and the little plug actually sits into this hole here. So you pretty much, what you're just going to end up doing is you're going to end up taking like a socket or an extension and just tap it with a hammer. It'll come straight through. You've got to remove the plug because you've got this rod here that actually slides through the actual clutch fork. It actually mounts up into here, and that hole, which is right here, actually gives you your axis point to where you can actually push the rod out and through to get it out of the transmission, because without pulling this out of the way, you're not going to be able to get that clutch fork out of it. So, I mean, it's not really too hard to do. I just kind of took a screwdriver right here at the end here, kind of tapped it on the side here with the hammer, and it allowed me to pretty much walk it straight out. But yeah, man, that thing is done. Wow, that thing is done. And of course, you got your throwout bearing here. That just pulls off. We'll put a new one on here. A lot of people say, use the OEM throwout bearing. Yeah, an OEM's great. I will typically buy the Exedi throwout bearings because Well, who do you think makes the OEM one? And they're about half the cost. So this one was an ACT. I've heard a lot of bad things about ACT, and well, today that's pretty much proven its point. So probably would recommend not using the ACT throwout bearing, but if you go with the OEM or the Exetti one, it should be good to go. I've got the, like I said, the little through rod, the clutch fork, we got the little springs here, and then you got your little felt pieces that kind of go in between the clutch fork and the springs. So anyway, well, we got that off, so let's go ahead and go on to the next step. Okay, so what I've done thus far is I've started taking all the bolts out around here. There's actually 13 of them all together. Still have one back here, which is a little bit of a pain. I still got to get taken out, so still working on that one a little bit. They're just basically 14mm bolts, just sitting right there. On top of it, internally, there are 2 bolts on the inside of the bell housing that you'll need to pull out too, just similar to the other 13 on the outside of the casing. I did go ahead and take the trans adapter off, and I already found my first sign of a bad day. If all of the metal shavings on that magnet there doesn't already, you know, insinuate it, yeah, that tooth is, yeah, that's not good. Yeah, I already got the JB weld and everything setting aside, so we should have this back together in no time, no problem. But I'm going to go ahead and continue pulling this apart so we can take a more in-depth look and find out what's going on and kind of give you an update along the way. Alright, so update. The case is off. I actually was wrong. I had missed one of the bolts earlier, so of the 14mm bolts that were kind of around the outer ring here, there are actually 14 of them. I think I said there was 13 earlier. Ended up getting the problem child there. Just backed the little bolts out here, got to pull and twist. So right now, as we sit, we've got the cases basically separated. Alright, so as we sit right now, obviously we've got everything separated here, just kind of assessing some damage. Still trying to get the input and output shafts out, working on that. I did go ahead and get the final drive out. It was pretty easy once you pull it, you know, once you pull everything out. The final drive is actually sitting right in this area on the differential, so it just pulls and slide out. From what I can tell, one of my fears was I hurt the diff. All the gears and everything in the diff look fine. I've not seen any damage to them whatsoever. It's turning smoothly. It's I don't see nothing going on with the teeth on anything, so that's great. The actual final drive, which I was afraid I broke too, looks really, really good. Same thing with the actual pinion for the final drive. So the ring and pinion on the final drive is great, which is awesome because definitely didn't want to get rid of my 411 final drive, but I don't think I have a problem now. I have, though, found an issue. And right there is part of it. Let me zoom in here. Get it kind of adjusted. Right there you can see we're missing teeth, boys. Yep. So that's the input shaft there. It's my Evo 9 input shaft. And it looks like on that one tooth right there, I'm not 100% sure yet which one this guy is, but he's right here. I have broke a tooth off of that too. And if you actually go back in here, let me turn it so you can see the area. Alright, so everything is now taken apart. We got the input shaft, and we got the intermediate shaft or output shaft or whatever you want to call it. We got all your sliders or your rails and your arms here. Got the case in the floor. So pretty much from when I took everything apart, from the last update I gave on it, we took out the little idler thing. Really the only thing you have to do is you just kind of grab these and shake it until it comes out. So right now it's kind of a pain in the butt. It's not something that's just going to easily just pop out, but jostle it around enough, then you'll definitely get it to come out. So again, huge thanks to my buddy Jake Montgomery, which, by the way, if you haven't already, he's got a channel. It's JMRacing. I'll put a link down in the description here. Please go check him out. Give him a like. Give him a subscribe. If you want to see a lot of cool shit going on in one really badass 7-second DSM, you'll like what he's got going. And plus, he's wealth of knowledge too when it comes to 4G63. So definitely go check out Jake's channel and yeah, give him a like and a subscribe. Anyway though, kind of going over an overview and assessment of the damage. I have metal everywhere. They got metal there. They got the teeth there. A lot of them that got knocked out. Got a lot of cleaning I'm gonna have to do on this. The case is just covered in metal. Go down in here. It's covered in metal down there. You've got the ring gear for the 411 final drive. There's the actual center diff on it. It's kind of going over the bearing here. I don't really see anything on it to worry about. Don't see any pitting or anything of that nature, so should be good to go. Spider gears are still spinning pretty good there, so nothing to worry about there. So I think we're going to be okay on that. I had originally thought that maybe I had knocked some of the teeth off the 411 final drive, but no, I didn't. Everything seems to be copacetic on that. The damage wise, from what I can tell, he's got a couple different areas. So right here, now this would be the Evo 9 input shaft. I don't know if you can really tell, but you can see that it's kind of twisted a little bit here. This is where it actually would slide into the actual clutch. And then you get down here taking a look at the teeth, and these are definitely chewed up. So this is basically on the input shaft itself here. Now this section right here, what it is this is on the input shaft. It actually is what mates up with second gear. So this section right here actually goes with the first gear, which is over on this section here. And that's just kind of how that works out there. And then this actually goes around on the final drive itself. So, and this would be the pinion gear to your ring and pinion setup for your final drive. But anyway, so you've got your first gear here, and it's spinning good. Everything on first gear, yeah, it looks good. I mean, I don't see any pitting in it. From what I can tell, everything looks like it's good to go on that one. I mean, you've cleaned up real, of course, but I don't see any wear indications that make me think first gear is actually having an issue here. You got your 1-2 slider here, and it's definitely having some issues sliding up and down, so probably going to end up replacing that too. Now here is your second gear. As you can see, the teeth is they're completely knocked off. They're done. It's gone. So definitely going to have to end up getting a new second gear. I had originally thought that looking at the transmissions, if you see these little indents on it, and let me try to zoom in a little bit better for you, because there we go. It's got these little indents on in here. But I've been doing a little bit of research on the actual gears themselves, and that's actually how the transmission, those gears are. So this one is the output shaft. So third gear, fourth gear, and fifth gear actually have an input side and an output side. So there's two parts to the gear. Your first gear, basically the gear itself goes off of the little area on the actual input shaft, and then a second gear does the same thing too. So these two sections right here on your input shaft are what are going to control, or what your first gear and your second gear are going to actually rotate around when it's all back together. So looking at the damage, looks like basically I'm looking at a new second gear. Don't think I need to worry about the output shaft section or the output for third gear. It looks like it's probably going to be okay. It did, and it's sad because it's like one little tooth took the hit. Let's see if I can find it. So that's going to be a new third gear right there. So essentially what my game plans at this point are, I'm not building a dog box. One, I'll be honest, I don't have the money for a dog box, and two, this is a street car. It's not something I really take to the track. I don't really launch it. Believe it or not, out of the 4 years I had this transmission built, I actually only launched this car one time on this setup. My car was never really set up to be an actual all-out drag car. I mean, it's full weight, full interior, everything. It was basically made to be a highway king, and it did a damn good job at it. But what I'm probably, my thought process thus far is definitely going to be getting a new input shaft. There's no way to save it. If I'm going to tear it apart, I mean, I don't notice anything going on. These bearings don't look bad, but you can see the bearings. They got a little bit of a hit on them there. There's a dent there. I mean, they're not expensive. I think the bearings, the most expensive bearings out of all of them, I think was like 30, 40 bucks. So I'm just going to go ahead and just throw new bearings in it just to be on the safe side. But second gear is definitely going to have to be replaced. The output shaft on this one's going to be replaced. I think I said earlier in the video too, the third gear synchro was already hurt, so I do actually already have a third and a fourth gear synchro that I was already planning on tearing apart the transmission for to replace, so I'm going to go ahead and throw those in. I think for peace of mind, I am going to go ahead and replace the first and second one too. I'm also going to do a new 1-2 and a new 3-4 slider. Reverse slider, synchro, honestly, I'm just going to leave it alone. You know, unless I inspect it and I see something wrong with it when I get this all cleaned up and everything, because of course it's still covered in trans fluid. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff it's hiding. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'll be honest, when I do take my car out, I really don't do a lot of fifth gear stuff. I think I've maybe no lift shifted the car into fifth gear twice in 4 years. And I usually get to the top of fourth. At the top of fourth, if I can't be ahead of somebody, there's really no point in me continuing it. That's the way I feel about it. So. But yeah, so guys, this is basically what I'm looking at on the transmission at this point. So yeah, anyway, so that's basically where we're sitting at right now. Got everything apart. I'm gonna have to get some parts together, get everything ordered up, and then we'll be able to kind of get everything cleaned up, get everything put back together. So anyway, stay tuned. We'll kind of make a video on that one, trying to go over it. Really, honestly, first time I've ever pulled apart a transmission, and it really wasn't that bad. There was a couple things where I kind of got stuck on, so hopefully this might help somebody in the future if they're looking to tear apart a transmission or whatnot. But otherwise, just want to say thank you guys for watching. You know, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, the notification, and ask questions. Definitely enjoy that, because most of the time I'm at work late at night and people ask questions and I'm the one that answers it, and gives me something to do. So anyway, thanks guys. We'll catch you next time.